Hey, this is Eric with MisplacedPastor.com. So I'm getting ready for a hiking trip, leaving this Thursday. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm leaving this Thursday. We're going to hike Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so 3 days, 2 nights. And as I'm packing my stuff, going through my gear, I'm doing a couple of videos on some of the strategies that I use for different things. This video is about my cookware, my cooking strategy, what I do as far as the hardware part of my cooking is concerned. I kind of do stuff on the cheap. I look for really good deals. You can say I'm frugal. Some people would probably say I'm just a cheapskate. I don't like to spend money on stuff. I do like good gear, but I'm kind of careful about how much I invest in what places. So I'm going to show you what I have found that works for me at this point. It could change. To start with, let's talk about stoves. So the stove that I use for my cooking setup is the little, what they call the little Amazon stove. It's the orange Amazon stove. And this little deal, the one I use is made by E-Tech City. I think that's probably the most popular one that's on Amazon. It runs about $10 for this little stove. If you buy them in 2 packs, they're a little cheaper. And they have this little orange plastic box they come in. And then when you pop them out and take them out, you'll see it's just a little Bunsen burner style little stove that goes on top of your fuel canister. And so you take it and you expand the little arms there and see how they work. Most people, for most pots, flip them like this, and then the pot sits on top of it. So the canister goes on the bottom. I'll show you the fuel canister that I normally take is this little fella right here. Okay, this is the Jetboil brand, but lots of people make them. It's an isopropane fuel mix. A 3.5 ounce canister is what I normally take for my weekend section hiking trips. And this usually is more than enough for me. And I'll explain why in just a minute. But you take it and you put your little, well, let me get the top off of this thing. Put your little Bunsen burner on top of it. I'm not going to screw it all the way on. But you put your little Bunsen burner on top of it. It's got a click piezo right there. Or I think it's piezo, I think that's how you say it. A click igniter. You click it, it fires up. They work. I mean, I have had no problems with mine. I've used one like this the whole time that I have been backpacking, so about 4 years now, quite a few trips. I've never had one fail on me. And you can adjust the fire here as far as how big the flame is. The one thing that I do have to watch out for is this part of it right here. This part will come loose. It's kind of just screws together, so I have to just check it and make sure that it's tight because it'll get a little wobbly. Now the pot that I use for my backpacking is one of my favorite pieces of gear. I keep taking tops off stuff before I show it to you. Okay, so here's my pot. This is by Olicamp. This is the XTS aluminum pot with a heat exchange on the bottom. So I kind of refer to this as a cheapo Jetboil solution. So on the inside of the pot, and let's see if I can get it where you can see it. You probably can't. Yeah, there you can kind of see right there that it's gradiated on the inside, and up to 32 ounces of liquid. It's 8, 16, 24, 32 on the inside of it. It's got a little rubber top on it. If you want to replace that with like an aluminum top or a titanium top, you can buy them that fit them. People make them cottage industry style kind of stuff. And the reason I say that it's kind of like a cheapo version of a Jetboil is because of the heat exchange on the bottom. This bad boy right here, you can see the fins in there. See them? Fins? When that flame goes up in there, it gets hotter, it gets hot faster. And so it boils water considerably faster than my other aluminum pot that I've been using, which allows me to conserve fuel. It allows me to not have to wait quite as long for whatever it is I'm making, especially if I'm not using very much liquid. I mean, if you only need 12 ounces of water for something, it's going to boil like that. It'll be boiling. The only thing that I have found that I have to do a little different, and I haven't, is with my stove. Instead of doing the legs on my stove like that, when I do them like that and I use the Olicamp pot, the feet just barely do reach the outside of the heat exchange. And if it gets off center at all, they'll get caught up in there, and that's a headache. So what I do is I just flip the feet to the inside, like that. So I have a smaller diameter, I guess, footprint for my pot, but they fit up right on the inside of my Olicamp pot. So negatives, the flame is right up against the pot. So far it hasn't caused any problems. Another negative is the flame is also burning, right across the feet of my stove. Again, I haven't had any problems with it yet. And when it comes down to it, you're talking like a $7 or $8 stove, and if it lasts me a year, not a big deal. But so far, they've lasted like 4 years and still going strong. In fact, I have several because I buy them and will give them to friends of mine when we take them on the first backpacking trip, just because it's a great little piece of gear to have. So I've got all kinds of backups if I need them. But my stove works great. And what I love about this whole setup, okay, is I can take my pot, I can drop this in there. The only thing you got to be careful about this deal is if the bottom of your fuel canister gets wet and you put it in there and it stays in there, it will put a rust ring in the bottom of your aluminum pot, and that's frustrating. So whenever I'm packing it, sometimes I'll put it on top if it's damp or if I've used my pot and it's wet. But just for storage, at least, you can put your fuel down in there, put your stove in there, put the top on it. Talk about compact. That's wonderful. Now, one of the other things that I use that I really love is this. This is the only piece of titanium. No, I take that back. This is one of the 3 pieces of titanium I own for my backpacking stuff. This is a Toaks titanium spoon, long handle spoon, polished bowl. I really like it. I like the polished bowl because it feels nice against my teeth, as opposed to like this part. If a lot of the Toaks spoons will have this kind of like a little bit of a rough texture to it, and the little orange characteristic Toaks orange bag that it comes in. This is a really sweet spoon. I love it. It's kind of it's a joke among the guys I backpack with that you're not, you haven't graduated to the level of like a real hiker until you have a titanium spoon. It's like a rite of passage. So I made do with the plastic spoon for I think like 2 years before I bit off a titanium spoon. And then let's see, the way that I do my food is I do the old freezer bag cooking. So I have this deal, this aluminum wrapped, bubble wrap stuff, and I make a little koozie out of it. And then I'll take whatever my food is for my backpacking trip. I haven't really fully swapped over to the dehydrated meals or the freeze dried meals like Mountain House. And I don't even know really which one they are. Are they dehydrated? Are they freeze dried? I don't know because I don't use them. But what I do is I pick up stuff like this when it's on sale at the grocery store. It has like a indefinite shelf life. That's not true, but a long shelf life. And so I'll just box them up in a Tupperware box that I have hiking food labeled on the top, and then I'll pull them out when I'm ready to go on a trip. So I'll take something like this, put it in a heavy-duty freezer bag. I'll put on the front of it what it is and how many ounces of water are necessary to cook it. And then when it comes time to cook it, I boil my water, drop my water in here, drop this whole thing inside my koozie, like so. So my food's now inside the koozie. And then close the top on it. And then just let it sit and heat up and rehydrate while I do something else. Will it fix my coffee or talk to my friends or whatever. Okay, so that's how I cook. And then speaking of coffee, this is another piece of essential gear for me. It's a double wall aluminum coffee cup. I like having a dedicated, easy to access coffee cup, something that will hold several ounces. This one's one of those little ones that has a carabiner clip on the outside of it. Not the most sturdy. I've heard people say the screws tend to back out and this piece comes off. I haven't had this but just for one trip, but I like it a lot. I've been happy with it to this point. So I think keeping a dedicated coffee cup for me is probably something I will always do. But that's the way I cook. I mean, it's really simple. I carry a lot of stuff that's ready to eat, granola bars, trail mix, some sort of meat like a beef jerky or a meat stick or something like that. I do oatmeal in the morning, usually, or grits. I'm a southern boy. I like grits, so I'll do oatmeal or grits. Cream of wheat don't work. I bring a lot of instant coffee. I do. For me, the coffee that I use almost always is right there, Cafe Bustelo. It's I used to own a coffee shop. I'm a little bit of a coffee snob, and I tried carrying coffee grounds and doing different versions of better coffee on the trail, and I just gave up. I'm like, when you're out there just something, you know. So the Cafe Bustelo stuff is pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's the better of the instant coffees that don't cost like, you know, $2 a cup. The Starbucks Via stuff is really good, but the Cafe Bustelo is close enough, and it's like $1 for a box of 6 or something. So you just can't. I mean, I can't beat that. So I'll do that, and that's pretty much what I do. That's how I do my cooking on the trail.